Hello, everyone. My name's Mary. I am going to be talking to you today about one of my very favorite tools that I use for both face-to-face and online classes that works really well with Canvas. It is called Hypothesis. And Hypothesis is a collaborative annotation app. So basically, it allows you and your students to work together to take notes on, mark up, highlight, ask questions of, comment on a text. So a piece or an article or a piece of writing that is on the internet that you can link to, a PDF document that you've uploaded that is, able to be highlighted and has recognizable text. Those kinds of things, you guys can all, or everyone in your class can work together to read the piece and then take notes together. So I found it to be an extremely useful tool, especially I teach history, so there's a lot of reading. There's a lot of reading of primary sources. This is a really great tool to use to get into the nitty gritty and give students a chance to ask a lot of questions and for you to answer those questions right in the text itself, right in the margins together. So right now I'm on the Hypothesis homepage just to show you what it looks like and to show you all of the resources that they have there if you want to get started with this tool. It is free. It is free through 2020 to use with Canvas through the end of 2020. It is always free if you download the extension and use it on your own in your browser window. So it's never something that you have to pay for. There are limits for how many students you can use it with if you're using it in Canvas or another LMS, but those limits don't apply through the end of 2020, which is good. So anyway, I just want to show you some resources they have here at the top of the homepage for Hypothesis, and then I will show you what it looks like in Canvas. So this is a link that I will come back to. This is where you would go to sign up for the app that can be integrated, or the special key you need to put into for your app to use the app in Canvas. This liquid margins link that they have is a show that Hypothesis staff is working with instructors from a bunch of different institutions who have used Hypothesis in their classes and sort of portioned it out based on discipline, and it looks like they're starting to do based on different LMSs. So if you have further questions that aren't answered in this video and want to know how it's used in classes, I recommend going and checking out these webinars. You can RSVP to go to the upcoming ones, or you could view the past ones that are there. And I mentioned this partly because I was on one. I was on one on July 24th talking about annotating history texts, and it was really fun getting to talk with my co-guest, Alicia Maggard, and talking about different ways you can use it in history classrooms. But they have one for science classrooms, they have one for English and composition, so lots of good resources on the Hypothesis website. So now, anyway, what is Hypothesis? Let me go to Canvas to show you how it actually works. So I actually created a little Hypothesis assignment. I'm the test student right now, so you can see how it looks as a student if you're loading it. So I linked to an article on the web, and this is what comes up when you click the Hypothesis link. So you have the actual article, the text of which there. You also have this side panel, which is the Hypothesis pane. So what happens if you highlight a piece of the text, this little window will pop up where you can either just keep it as a highlight, or you can click the Annotate button. If you click Annotate, this little box will pop up that allows you to type, your thoughts, questions, your thoughts, your responses to questions that the instructor has posed, whatever you want. So I'll just say, what do you think she means by educate? Whatever. Being very intelligent with this question. Then you would post it. So after you posted it, students or fellow students, instructors can go in and actually reply to your questions. So you can have a whole thread of conversations about a particular phrase or a particular word, a particular idea in the text. It's really interesting and useful to see the kinds of conversations that develop. So as more and more folks begin to read and highlight, you get all of these highlights that appear, and you can see this dynamic interchange between your students and the actual text itself. So students have a couple options. They can highlight and annotate specific lines, or they can add what are called page notes, which are basically like your note or comment that's not attached to a particular piece of the text. It's just attached to the article as a whole. So say sample page note. That would just show up in this page notes pane, and that is attached to the text but not attached to a particular sentence. So when I use this in my classes, what I've done is give them questions to answer that help them to generate good analysis of the primary source material. So depending on what kind of text it is, you could ask a whole bunch of different questions to get them to help them frame their reading of that particular piece and how it relates to your class content. So in the past, I've actually just put the questions right in the annotations pane, so then students can reply to my annotation with their answer to that question, and then other students can reply to them. I've also used the page notes because it allows them to sort of have an option to have that clean slate of just annotating and seeing their classmates' thoughts, and then they can click over to page notes to see my questions and see if what I've asked them to do aligns with what they've gotten out of the reading. For folks who are concerned with the busyness of what it looks like, so if you have students who are like, I just don't want to see other people's highlights when I'm reading the first time, there is an option to actually turn it off. So you can click this little eyeball, that highlight, all those highlights will go away. They can minimize the hypothesis pane by clicking that arrow up there in the annotation sidebar. And then you have just a blank text that they can read and engage with on their own and add their annotations later. That is an option for them. So it depends on how you want to, or how much direction you would like to give them, but there is a lot of different options for them in terms of annotation and the possibilities for that. Now I'll show you what it looks like when you're actually replying to people. So this is another article I had linked before. You can see some of my highlights and my questions, and I was asking my FLOC cohort. So it'll show you what it looks like when they reply. So the test student is going to say, yes, I agree, and posting. So you can see the test student right there is engaging with my previous question that I had asked in the hypothesis bar. Now, one other really useful tool I use when I'm analyzing or, getting a feel for the general sense of what folks are annotating or what they're most concerned about in the text is I use this search tool, so the search annotations. One thing I do, especially in larger classes, if they're all annotating the same document, is if I want to make sure I don't miss anybody's question if there's a lot of annotations, so I'll just search for the question mark. And I guess there's no question marks that come up in this particular article, but all of the questions that students have will come up there, which is pretty handy. You can also search by name and have all of each student's annotations come up. You can search by keyword, so it's just kind of a helpful tool to organize your annotations in text. Now, one thing I will show is how to actually grade these annotations. So let's leave the student view now. So what I've done with this hypothesis assignment, this article that I had sample annotated for you, was setting it up as an actual assignment, which I will walk through in just a second, but I'll show you what it looks like in the speed grader. Which, if you set it up as an assignment, it feeds it right into the speed grader. And what will happen is you'll have, each student come up here, and each student's annotations come up in this, speed grader sidebar. So you can give them individual comments. If you wanted to comment about their annotations, you could give them the points, whatever you wanted to do. And it's very helpful to have, filtered out annotations by student. Although I do recommend reading through all the annotations together because you can get a sense of the conversation. But if you wanted to assign particular points or make sure that they got credit for adding their own annotations, this is an easy way to do that. And that way, the task of annotating also will show up in their, great to-do list here. It says, make sure you annotate this article it's worth 5 points, and here's when it's due. Okay, so the last thing I will show you all is how to actually add a hypothesis into Canvas and into your modules. Now, if you want to make sure that you have hypothesis available, you would have to do it just the way that you would add in any other app. So in your settings for your course shell, you would head to the External Apps tab and search for hypothesis. That's embarrassing. Oh yeah, it's already installed, so it'll show up there. So if you haven't installed it yet, when you add the app, you'll be asked to insert a consumer key and a shared secret. So in order to get that, you would head to the Hypothesis website, and it's this web address is up here, web.hypothesis.is/education/LMS. You fill out this form, just giving them a sense of who you are, your name, your organization, your school, what's the LMS that you're using, and they will email you back within a couple minutes, and then they'll send you a link to get that secret key, and you can enter it in. So once Hypothesis is already installed in your Canvas shell, there's a few ways that you can actually add it. You can just add it as an external tool to a module. So just click on the plus icon up at the top and just scroll down to External Tool. It will appear in your list of external tools if you've already installed the app. And then you have a couple options. So you can either enter a URL of an article that you want students to annotate, or you can select a PDF from your Google Drive, which is really, really handy. So just do that really quick. So if you have like a reading or a set of readings that you've collated or curated for them that you want them to use, it's, loads right there eventually in your module. So that's one way you can add it. Now that will add it as an item, but that doesn't mean that will not show up in SpeedGrader unless you add it as an assignment. So I'll go over to assignments, show you how I did that. So plus assignment, and it's pretty much the same as you were adding it as an external tool, except it's down here. So selecting a submission type external tool, click find, and find it through that list. And it's the same thing. So just add that article that I had added before. One thing I do recommend is clicking that checkbox, load in a new tab. If you don't click that, the article will show up in the Canvas page, and it's the window is small. I've gotten feedback from students that it's frustrating not to be able to zoom in and widen the window because you have it sort of impeded by that hypothesis sidebar. So I do select load in a new tab so they have the entire screen to work with. And set your settings, and then click save, and that is how you can add it in your module under assignments. So once you've saved it, published it, it'll show up in your assignment list there. Okay, so that is how you use and install Hypothesis. If you all have any questions, I absolutely love this tool and I'm happy to talk about it further. So send me an email or reach out to me on Twitter or something, and happy annotating. Bye.